Hi everyone, it's Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. And today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you several fun ways to use the new Terrific Tape by Gina K Designs and ThermOWeb. The products you're going to need to do the first technique are some craft cardstock. You're also going to need Terrific Tape in both the 1/2 inch size and the 1/8 of an inch size. You're also going to need some foil, and I'm using Radiant Red and Sparkling Silver. To start the technique, you want to use the 1/2 inch Terrific Tape and create a diagonal pattern going all the way down the piece of cardstock. Now you can see how easy it is to tear this tape, so you won't need scissors or any special tools. You're just going to lay the tape over the cardstock, press down, and then tear. Sorry, I'm a little out of the picture for these last couple of strips. And as far as spacing goes, just eyeball it. As long as it's pretty close, it's going to look great. So once you have all of those strips done, and you want to make sure that those strips are hanging off of the edge, it's going to be time to press down on each strip to make sure that you've got real good adhesion on the entire piece of cardstock. So I'm rubbing my finger down and really pressing down and making sure that it's all stuck down well. Then you're going to trim off the raw edges, and here I'm just using my regular paper cutter, and I'm just trimming this down to the size that I want my finished piece of cardstock to be. So I started with something a little bit bigger than I wanted, and now I have the perfect size. So the next step is to get a piece of sparkling silver foil ready to go, and you can start to gently peel the liners off of your piece of cardstock. So just kind of bend it a little bit so that that liner pops up, and then it's easy to peel. Now I'm going to place the sparkling silver foil on top of that piece of cardstock. And then using my finger, I'm going to burnish this. And that just means I'm going to rub along each line to make sure that the foil is completely adhered to that Terrific Tape. Now once you've made sure that it's completely adhered, you can peel the foil off and reveal the beautiful background. So you can leave it like that, or you can take it a step further. So for this step, I'm taking the 1/8 of an inch Terrific Tape, and I am placing pieces of the Terrific Tape right inside those beautiful sparkling silver stripes. And this is going to give me a more decorative stripe because I'm going to do a second color foil. Now for this one, I'm just using scissors to cut off the excess. You can use a paper cutter again. If you actually leave it a little bigger than you wanted it, it would be easier to cut with a paper cutter. But I had mine sized perfectly, so I'm just snipping those raw edges off using some Tim Holtz craft scissors. Now I'm putting a piece of cardstock on top before I rub all over the surface, just to protect that silver foil underneath. And now I'm going to peel the liners the same way as I did with the 1/2 inch ones. And once these are all peeled, I can adhere my Radiant Red foil on top. So I have a piece of Radiant Red foil, and I'm going to lay that right on top. And then again, I'm using that piece of cardstock so that I don't disrupt the silver foil underneath, and I'm just really rubbing onto the white cardstock. And there you go, I'm revealing that beautiful shine. And here's a card I made using that same design, and you can see how pretty that looks. Now for my next technique, I'm going to use a big rubber background stamp, and this is the Delicate Snowflake background stamp by Gina K Designs. I'm going to use an embossing magic pad, and I'm going to rub that all over the surface of this 80-pound white cardstock. That's going to remove any static or oil from the surface of the cardstock, so the embossing powder is going to stick only where you want it. I'm using some Versamark ink because I'm going to emboss this image in gold embossing powder. And the Versamark ink is a nice sticky ink for that job. Now, I'm not putting this piece of cardstock over the entire background stamp. I'm leaving some room at the bottom to add a greeting. So I'm just kind of leaving a flap hanging off the bottom of the background stamp. And then I'm using an additional piece of cardstock so that I can rub all over the surface and make sure I get a good impression. Now it's time to add some embossing powder to my design. So I'm going to use some of the Gina K Designs Fine Detail Gold Embossing Powder, and I'm going to sprinkle that all over the surface of this card where my image is stamped. And if you get any embossing powder where you don't want it, you can use a little paintbrush or just wipe it away with your thumb. Now it's time to heat emboss the design, and I like to preheat my embossing tool so I get a little less warping. Once this is done, you can see the beautiful shine, and now it's time to add a border. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch tape. This is the 1/4 inch Terrific tape, and I'm creating a line that will finish off the edge of that background pattern. So I'm going to apply that there and press it down. Then I'm going to use the 1/8 of an inch Terrific tape, and I'm going to create another decorative line close to the bottom. And this leaves a space in between that's the perfect size for adding a greeting. And that greeting will be framed by 2 embossed gold lines. So now I'm going to just trim off those little extra pieces and trim my cardstock down to the size that I want it for my finished card project. The size I'm using here is a 3 3/4 inch panel by 5 inch. Now I'm going to peel the liners, and then it's going to be time to apply the embossing powder. And just like you would with Versamark, you can sprinkle embossing powder right over Terrific tape to create beautiful embossed lines wherever you want them on your card project. And don't limit it to just borders. You can do stripes, you can do plaids, you can do all kinds of fantastic looking embossed lines. So I'm going to heat those with my heat tool, and you can see all of that beautiful shine starting to appear. So for this card, I would have that empty space there where I can stamp any greeting that I want, a Merry Christmas greeting, right in between those 2 lines. But here on my sample card, I only did 1 line, and I die cut a big Christmas greeting. And I want to show you how I did that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some Versamark ink, and I'm going to ink an entire spot on this piece of cardstock, just pressing that Versamark right into the cardstock. Then I'm going to sprinkle embossing powder over the entire Versamarked area. So this is just going to give me a big flat patch of gold embossing. Now once that's done, it's going to be time to emboss this using my heat tool. And again, I've preheated my heat tool, so I'm getting a lot less warping, and that embossing powder is melting very quickly. And you can see how gorgeous that shine is. And this is the fine detail powder, but you still get a great look. So now I'm going to use some of the 1/2 inch Terrific tape, and I'm going to put that over the back of that embossed area. And I'm going to overlap a little bit here, just not overlap, but overhang off the edge, but I'm trimming that off with my paper trimmer, so that won't be sticking out. So now I have that all trimmed up, and now I'm going to put my Christmas die, my word die, right on top of that, and I'm going to cut that out using my Big Shot. Now because this is a little thicker, because it has the Terrific tape on there, I'm going to use my plate, but I'm also going to use an extra piece of cardstock on top just to act as a shim. And now I'm going to peel that Christmas word right off of that terrific tape. And then I'm going to curve the design. And that's a little harder to do with a thicker cardstock without that tape on the back. But with the terrific tape, you can curve the design and use it on your card project. So you can see how beautiful that looks, and it's all stuck down. And here it is again on my card project. My last technique uses some of the Gina K Designs frozen glitter and some of the 1/4 inch terrific tape. So once again, I'm doing a diagonal pattern. I really like the diagonal pattern for holiday cards because it feels a lot like a candy cane to me. So now I'm going to trim off the edges like we did in the first couple of projects. And once that's all trimmed down and I have my card to the size that I want it to be, I'm going to peel off the liners. And again, if you just kind of slightly bend the cardstock where the liners are, the liner pops right up and it's easy to pull off. Now instead of embossing powder, I'm going to use this loose glitter all over those stripes. And this glitter is so sparkly and so shiny. It is such a pretty look. It makes a beautiful, subtle, soft background for all kinds of holiday projects or any kind of project. But I really like the way this looks with snowflake stamps. So once I have that glitter everywhere that I want it to be, and I know that all of the tape is covered, I'm going to use a swiffer. And I'm going to rub the swiffer in between the lines, and it's okay if it touches over the lines. The glitter's not going to come off there. But that's going to remove the excess glitter, and I'm also going to use it to clean my station. So here's my finished card project, and you can see I added a little sparkle in that snowflake too. I hope you've enjoyed these projects and these techniques, and I hope you'll give them a try. All of the new Gina K Designs adhesive products are now available at ginakdesigns.com, thermoweb.com, and at fine retailers near you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon on Stamp TV.